MSport has a reputation for nurturing new rally talent, and our guest today is no exception. Their latest signing has been impressing on the World Rally stage since being promoted to the top team at the start of this year. His story began on the lanes of Northern Ireland, and he progressed quickly. Budget restrictions meant pivoting to an alternative in 2018, and he found himself competing against the best in the world in the Esports WRC Championship, winning the title first time out. But he was hungry for more and returned to enter the ERC with an eye on class titles and overall victory.
This time we started really fast and we had like 40 second lead on the first day.
Having now made it to the main MSport team, he narrowly missed out on the title despite securing podiums and a couple of wins. He'd done enough though, and this year he began his Rally 1 journey. Back in early March, my guest joined me to talk about the future of the sport, the support of Motorsport Ireland, and his view on how the future may look. On the show today, we welcome Jon Armstrong. Hi John, how are you, mate?
Yeah, really well, thank you. It's good to be on, Drew, so thanks for having me.
Thank you for agreeing to come onto the show. It's amazing to have you on. It really is. You obviously hail from Ireland, and we've spoken to Eamon Kelly in the past, and I believe you've actually got a fairly similar backstory to him in terms of driving on fields, rolling cars, etc. But in a more wider sense, what is rallying like in Ireland? How is it accepted?
Yeah, I think rallying in Ireland as a sport is massive because there's so many events every weekend. Like, there's quite a few drivers, if they have the means to do so, can do a rally on a Saturday and do a rally on a Sunday if the budget can stretch that far, which I think is quite unique. So that just shows you how vast that the sport is, and you can get involved very early in terms of going to spectate at a rally because of that, because there's most likely 4 to 5 rallies nearby where you live a year, so you can go and easily spectate. And that formed a big part of my childhood. Was my father was into rallying and used to go around and spectate on events that were quite local to us. I never recall going very far. Like, it would have always been sort of the local area, and maybe obviously Donegal rally was quite close to where we live. It's like just over an hour away. So yeah, and then the Circuit of Ireland came around our doorstep whenever I was young as well. So that sort of just built up a real passion for me, and I think that's so true with a lot of people that come from Ireland, because it's just generational. Like, their parents would have been into going spectating. There's a big car culture in Ireland as well of driving your nice road cars to the events and parking them up with your mates and enjoying the spectacle. So yeah, that's sort of there's so many different facets to how you can get involved, and I think that's the big benefit in Ireland from a sporting point of view. And it's just a real culture, and we're right up there with the likes of Finland and places like that. I really do believe.
How is it accepted outside of the rallying community, though? Or is it just so vastly encompassing that it just covers the country as almost a national sport?
Yeah, I think so, because we also rely a lot on the road closures in Ireland. Like, people are giving up their days to have their roads closed on where their house is based. So yeah, it obviously affects a lot of people who maybe aren't interested in the sport, but I think that also brings them in, that they happen to have a rally car go down the road and they do stay at home for the day, and they get interested that way. So yeah, from that side, I think it's something that people experience from a young age, and yeah, there's obviously always going to be people that aren't so interested in motorsport or rallying in general, and I think thankfully we don't have any people who are extremely against it, and that shows. We still have so many rallies, so many successful rallies in terms of road closures. our forestry in Ireland is also pretty good in terms of getting into the forestry and the relationships there. From what I can see, I'm not directly involved, but we have a forestry championship, and again, that was a big part of what was great about growing up where I was. Like, we had the tarmac events in the local area, but we had 2 gravel events. They still take place today. They're called the Lakeland Stages, which is based in Enniskillen, and then the Bushwhacker, which is based in Oma direction. So yeah, and they're literally on my doorstep. So they're like 2 home rallies, and they're both on gravel. So yeah, no, I think it's accepted really well, and it is like a national sport.
I think that's what we're missing here, to be honest. As popular as it is, it's still not shunned, but it's still a very in the shadows kind of sport in the UK, which is such a shame. And I think if we could generate that absolute grassroots level, we might be in a bit of a better situation, to be fair. It definitely sounds like rallying's in the DNA of Ireland, which I kind of assumed it was, to be fair. Let's move forward then. To your career. It started in 2008, basically on the fields, wasn't it? You were driving around, driving bang-up cars and basically having lots of fun.
It started basically on my uncle's farm, driving cars, but quite quickly we got interested in trying to compete and started with the Vauxhall Nova on some rally sprints. So that was a very standard car, a bit like a J1000 car, which is very popular for young drivers nowadays. But that series was basically open to anyone in terms of it wasn't governed by Motorsport UK or Motorsport Ireland. They're kind of a identity of their own, and you still needed safe cars, but they were quite relaxed with a lot of things. So it was a great place to start, and I guess, like you say, a middle ground between a fully fledged rally sprint and maybe auto tested, somewhere in between that. And but it was still very competitive, and we'd done that until I was 17, until I could get my driver's license to attack the real stages. And whenever that come around, we already had a different car. We had a ST Fiesta Group M, so full dog box, 2-liter engine. It was full spec car that was running in some of the Cup series. But
yeah,
it was great back then because it was a lot of money for us, but those cars were about 13,000. I think they still are in that bracket, 10 to 15,000. But now, like, when you're trying to jump into junior rallying and trying to make a mark, you're into Rally 4 cars, which are like 60, 70,000 for a used one. So the junior area scene, if you like, is a lot more expensive now to sort of hop in and make a mark and sort of show what you can do. But back then we started with that car and just ran it ourselves. My dad and brother were my mechanics, and then we kind of done that first year when I was 17, like not really knowing what to do. We done a little bit of the BRC Challenge, which was like a support series alongside the full British Championship, and the British Championship was front wheel drive only at that point, so it made sense for us to go there. And there wasn't a lot of opportunity in the support series in Ireland at that point. So I think back then the British Championship was seen as a way to sort of show what you could do to prove yourself, and then hopefully you get opportunities off the back of that. And based on that philosophy, then we decided then to save up and get a R2 Fiesta, which was actually the first Fiesta that was ever built for the R2 specification by MSport. But that chassis was written off. So basically they rebuilt that car with the same reg into a new chassis, which was built by CA1 Sport in Carlisle. So we went and bought the car off them, and then our plan was to do the British Championship, like the full thing. Ultimately, we didn't have like any massive results. I think I kept having a couple of mistakes or punctures, stuff like that. But some good speed, and the Ulster Rally that year, we were like it was very near my home in Enniskillen, and I didn't really know the roads so well. Okay, some of them more than others, but yeah, we managed to actually have a fastest time overall in the British Championship with the little R2 car against the more powerful DS3s, and we got the Pirelli Star Award for that event, which was like your ticket to a shootout at the end of the year to have a prize drive or an opportunity of winning a prize drive for the following season. So we made some good progress that year in terms of sort of showing our speed, but ultimately didn't get any strong results. And then the year after that, we didn't do too much. 2014 was kind of an off season. And then we sort of had a reboot in 2015 to go to the European Championship. So yeah, we always had like, probably our ambitions were always a lot higher than what we could afford. It was kind of always the theory of buy the car, we run it ourselves, which is cutting costs massively, and then try to get enough money as we go along for like tires, fuel, accommodation, entry fees, all those sorts of things. So it was sort of a very ambitious plan, but I think sort of a story that's true for a lot of drivers.
Yeah, absolutely. How did you get on with the sponsorship in those days? Because it's notoriously a difficult area to try and master in order to fund your career.
Yeah, it's very difficult. I found it really hard just trying to approach people, because I think even now it's very true for me that I kind of need to build a relationship with sponsors before they actually become a sponsor. So it's like getting to know people, building up your network. A lot of our sponsors in the early days were, family, friends, or people that were close to my dad or my brother. My brother worked for a Ford dealership as a mechanic, and basically they helped us with parts and stuff like that. So it is one of the most tricky things in the sport, especially with where rallying is. There's not always a lot of interest from a marketing point of view, and you really have to show how unique it is in terms of a marketing opportunity, but also be a bit out there with how you're trying to promote different companies and doing what you think might work for them.
That's ultimately probably the most difficult goal to try and achieve, isn't it? Try and explain the potential of the sport, where at the moment at least it's not in the best place in terms of its promotion compared to, let's say, F1. We need to drive, I think, the sport somewhere towards that, I would say. 2015 you started ERC, but as is usually the case in motorsport, there had to be a forced break at that point.
So 2015 was kind of, it actually ended up, we started ERC, but ended up doing more stuff at home in Ireland. And that year we actually had what was maybe one of the best seasons of one make in Ireland. Yeah, that really brought me on as a driver in terms of pushing and managing myself. So that was really cool to do that at home, to have such a high pace in R2 cars. And then 2016 in the Drive DMAX series, that was, again, I won an opportunity from going to a shootout, similar to what was the Pirelli shootout that gave a scholarship in the BRC. The DMAX shootout gave me a scholarship in the World Championship in the Drive DMAX Fiesta Trophy, which was effectively the Junior WRC. It was the same thing as what it is now. It was ran by MSport Poland, and all the cars were identical, and you just turn up and basically drive the car. It's all prepared for you. So yeah, it definitely had a shift in how I was focusing on my rallies. Instead of preparing the car and sorting stuff out, then I could just focus on the driving. But again, I've always had like ambition to try and do what I can and keep improving. So we went to Portugal and tried to learn a bit about the pace. And okay, some stages we were very far away, but some stages we were getting quite close. And we took a stage win in the class that weekend. And then we went to Poland, and the pace was really good from us. It was such a fast rally on gravel, and it was quite sandy surface, so you can really dig into the tire into the gravel and feel the grip. So we were flying that weekend. We actually ended up winning on our second time out, which was class. And then that sort of springboarded us. But we still had ups and downs. The next rally in Finland, we rolled on the first day. So that's the only time I've done Finland. But yeah, it's quite a tough event and tough challenge. Then after that, went to Germany. We damaged the car on the first stage again, but then came back and finished third. And then the final rally in Spain, we actually won that, which was great as well. So so then we had off the back of that season, we had 2 prize drives in the R5 DMAC car in WRC2 the following year in 2017, which was great, but we sort of ran out of steam and opportunity at that point. So yeah, it was another sort of could have been good to keep going and know what we could have achieved from that point. But yeah, I had to start from zero again to work back up through rallying after that.
Yeah, but that led on to quite a unique opportunity. I believe it 2018 that you started the Esports Championship.
Yeah, 2018 started the Esports Championship because I just watched it online. I was like sitting at home in December and the finals for 2017 were on, and I watched it. I was like, oh, this is actually really cool. Like, it was the same production value that you had with the WRC promoter and their all live coverage. And, you know, Bex Williams was commentating with, I think Andreas Mikkelsen was like giving out the awards to the winners. So I was like, if I can't get the budget to do real rallying, then I want to give this a go, because I've always had a massive interest in sim racing and gaming. I've been playing rally games since I was 5 years old, probably, and never stopped. So I've naturally built up a good bit of skill, just training and being on the sim all those years. So I was then trying to see how fast I could be against the guys who were competing in esports. And, you know, after maybe a week or two, I was able to match their times on the official WRC game, and then started the season. And the format for the esports was you done like 8 to 10 qualifying rallies at home, which give you points based on where you finished. And then if you're in like the top 8, you would go to a season shootout or season final. And that was at Rally Germany 2018 in the service park.
Lead is changing constantly between Armstrong and Jon Armstrong.
You are the Esports World Champion. Congratulations.
I just tried to prepare so much for that final, like learning as much as I could about the cars and the default setup, which we had to use. We weren't allowed to tweak the setups ourselves, and trying to just get familiar with all the equipment that we were going to use beforehand. Thankfully, I had the same equipment more or less at home as what they were going to be used. So it was a perfect storm. And on the day, I was on fire, and yeah, was the quickest driver. So we managed to actually win the sports, which was class. Like, to be a champion in anything is a big achievement. And that was like such a massive step for me in terms of I finally won like something. And with that, the prize was a road car, a Hyundai i20 road car. So it really was quite a good boost overall in terms of financial as well. So yeah, it was such a cool experience.
For somebody that's not all that aware of the esports side of the sport, they could be forgiven for thinking it's just a computer game, and it's not that real. But really, the skill level of the esports drivers is quite high, isn't it?
Yeah, it's massively skilled what you do as an esports driver. Your reactions and precision have to be bang on, and the amount of training that you need to do is quite high. Like, you're training sometimes between 4 to 8 hours a day just to be at the level that you need to be. And with the rally side of esports, the stages are quite long. Like you're talking 15 to 25 kilometer stages, and you need to know and learn every line and breaking point and like apex and corner cut that you can to be on the pace. Because you don't actually rely so much on the pace notes, because you can effectively learn the stages the same way that you can in a circuit, but obviously you've got a lot more distance and corners to learn. So I think that's kind of where I didn't enjoy maybe the second season as much, was just that pure amount of work involved, and that is the reality of being good at anything. And at that point, I'd already started working for Codemasters as a rally consultant on their dirt rally game. So I then was like more busy during the day. And the second year, I still finished second, which was to be first and then second in a world championship was brilliant. And after that, I was like, right, now it's time to try and channel that energy back into getting into the seat of a real rally car again. But esports is mega, and it's a good way to get into competing, cost effective way of racing against other people. And even Richard Burton's Rally still has like such a massive mod community, and those really guys they're keeping that so alive, and it's amazing if you compare that to the original game, what they've added to it, and the quality of the stages and the physics is really high. So if just as a training tool for real life, it's all there to improve your skills and make you a better driver. So that's sort of where my focus is now with the simulator side of things, is just enjoying it, and that can help you in real life then.
Well, you've got a unique perspective on this, being an esports champion, being involved with Codemasters, and obviously now sitting in a Rally 1 car. How close are modern sim rally games to the real deal? Yeah,
it's quite difficult to actually draw comparisons. I think the main thing, in the sense that rally in real life is always changing, but in the game you can get quite bang on and close with a certain condition. Like let's say a dry tarmac stage, you can get a really realistic feeling through the physics that we now have available through all games, really. Like even the WRC games not so far away. And you got a set of course rally and Richard Burns as well, but they all do their tire models slightly different. So I think that's maybe the biggest thing in terms of the simulation, is the tire model, how that interacts with bumps on the road, with cambers, and obviously loading the tire and stuff like that. So, and this sort of slip that you have on the driven axles. So yeah, the feeling between all 3 or 4 of those different sims is quite different, but you can get quite a realistic feeling from all of them. And it's then ultimately picking out what you find is useful for real life. And we're getting closer and closer. I think the thing that's quite difficult to simulate is like stage degradation in terms of ruts, and on tarmac, the way the road gets more pollution as each car goes through. And yeah, sometimes that's a little bit missing, but overall the rhythm that you feel in a real rally car, you can get quite the same sensations on a sim. Okay, we don't have the G-forces or the impacts, the movement that you have from a chassis in real life, but we do have motion platforms in the sim world now that replicate that as well, albeit they're quite expensive. But yeah, I think how I describe it is, as long as you know what feels real and use that to your benefit, then you can totally use simulators to train for real world driving.
So for somebody that was quite young, let's say below driving age, that was interested in getting into rallying when they're old enough, can it happen the other way? Is it close enough that they can train on the sim at 14, 15, 16, let's say, then get into a car and go, oh, actually, yeah, this feels pretty similar to what I'm used to, but this, that, and the other's different, and be close enough to be able to adapt to the real world.
Yeah, 1,000%. That's a good way to describe it, because even for me at a young age, that translated from driving RBR at home on a steering wheel mounted to my desk, and then, you know, one time I almost rolled my rally car on a rally sprint, and I managed to save it and bring it down from 2 wheels back down to 4 wheels. And I remember that was always a trait that the original vanilla RBR had. Like, you could really like balance the car on 2 wheels when you were having a moment, and then bring it back down or continue the roll. So I remember that being a good benefit then, and yeah, I honestly think it's shaped my driving ability from a young age, driving on a steering wheel on a computer game. And, you know, even the likes of Romet Jurgensen, who basically came into rallying with very little experience of real world driving, but was always on a simulator, playing different games. And the FIA Rally Star, which was a program to identify talent and bring them through to be, you know, the next big star. Part of that identification that they used was using a video game to get like times from people at home, and then they would take the fastest drivers and bring them to shootouts. He came through, was the fastest, and is now competing at a really high level in the British Championship and WRC2. So I think it's just proof that if you're fast on a simulator and a video game, then you can just pick it up when you go to the real world. It's all muscle memory and rhythm, and if you know what's different, you can quickly readjust yourself to the real world then. But most of the sensations is very similar.
It seems like it's the ideal starting point for a lot of people that are under the driving age. For anybody sat at home right now with any sort of setup, if you take it seriously, there is a legitimate route through esports to real world rallying now.
Yeah, 100%. And it is the cheapest way to get started. If you don't have the means to do real life rallying at that age, then for sure the simulator can be a great way to build up your skills, and at the same time work towards getting some opportunities then to be in a real car, even if that's just testing a car or at a rally school, and then prove what you can do, and then hopefully that gets more sponsors engaged, and you can keep going from there. I think it's just fantastic now that there's so many opportunities to get involved at a young age to drive, whether that's, the Junior 1000 series in Scotland or England. And then you've got obviously the series in Ireland, which you can do the whole forestry championship, which is amazing that you can get into the forest at such a young age. And all you need is a co-driver to drive the road section. So that's just incredible to have that sort of opportunity to drive on loose surface at a young age.
Do we know what sort of age you can start that from?
You're testing me now, but I think it's either 13 or 14.
Oh, so pretty young.
Yeah. So, and then you do that right up until you're 16. But I think it's this year that we're in Ireland with Motorsport Ireland in Class 2A, I believe it is. You can drive some tarmac rallies as well now in a more powerful car. So like an older R2 spec car, but it's still a lot faster than a Junior 1000 car. So that's another massive step, is getting youngsters into more powerful front-wheel drive cars at the age of 16 on proper rally roads is huge. And it's a credit to what they're doing over in Ireland, that we have Motorsport Ireland backing drivers like me at the highest level in Rally 1, but then we're putting in all this structure at the right sort of low level of junior rallying that you can get in, do proper stage rallying, learn your craft from a very young age while you're still developing as a person. And you can see the pathway through the Motorsport Ireland Rally Academy that if you're doing good results and continually getting better, that you can get all the way up to Rally 1 now. So yeah, that's the pyramid that we have. And thinking back 15, 20 years ago in Ireland, we didn't have that sort of vision or pyramid of opportunity, and now it's a reality.
Motorsport Ireland and the work that they've done over the last few years have really set a shining example to other motorsport associations. And it's basically one guy that's behind it, isn't it? That's the driving force. But they do so much work to support Irish drivers. And it's not, am I right in thinking it's not just rallying, is it? It's racing as well.
Yeah, I think when it comes to the rally side, we've got John Coyne, who is a Patreon for supporting us, and that comes with the whole structure behind the Motorsport Ireland Rally Academy was set up with John and Sean McHugh and a couple of other background team that are still working hard on developing what the Rally Academy is on a year-to-year basis, improving all the time. And that was a vision that they started 6-7 years ago. And as you say, Motorsport Ireland have other means that they were supporting circuit drivers with. I think that's still happening as well. So yeah, but in terms of the support that we have on a championship level, that's the whole background team are putting in a massive effort to work alongside the Motorsport Ireland Rally Academy, but everyone that works at Motorsport Ireland as a governing body are putting in so much effort to sort of re-engineer what it is to be a rally driver in Ireland in terms of a national level. If you're competing, in your Rally 2 car in the Irish Tarmac Championship, all the way down to the Junior 1000s, there's a real shift in mentality to go more towards the homologated side, especially for junior drivers, that you're driving cars that you're going to be driving if you can make it as a driver up through international rally in Europe and the World Championship. So that's been a massive step to move it in that direction, to get more drivers into Rally 4s and Rally 3. And then ultimately, if you do well at those categories, you'll get opportunities then to go to Europe and the World Championship. So yeah, it's not all about, let's say, getting budget. There's a massive effort in the background to educate us on what it takes to be a rally driver, a professional rally driver, which is all the fitness, the nutrition, the media side. We've got a massive background team that are helping anyone in the academy with that to improve ourselves. So it is a dream come true, and it's just a credit that we have that now in Ireland. It's a massive thing for everyone involved.
Huge credit, actually, to Motorsport Ireland for the work that they're doing. I was going to say it's not just about budget. It's I think possibly even more important. It is all that background work that they're doing to prepare people to get to the WRC, which is just an incredibly tricky environment to get into at the best of times. But it clearly works. We've had Craig, we've got yourself, and we've got Josh McAlane up there as well. And I want to say this is a positive thing, outperforming expectation probably at the moment. So all that background work that you guys have done and that Motorsport Ireland have done and that everybody else involved is working. And it's working quite effectively. Hopefully, the Motorsport UK will take note and possibly take a leaf out of Motorsport Ireland's book as well. But it's not just drivers, is it? I think they're massively behind bringing WRC Ireland back to the championship as well. I know they've had a one attempt, but they're coming back for a second attempt, aren't they?
Yeah, I'm a little bit slightly out of the loop in terms of the background to it, but yeah, I think there's a big appetite to have another Rally Ireland. We obviously had two iterations back in 2007 and 2009, which was massive for me to be able to go and see the best drivers in the world compete on your doorstep. So I think getting that sort of event again in Ireland will really promote the sport, will show more than back 20 years ago our local talent, because I think now we've got more drivers at a high level that could really show what they can do, because they'll feel very comfortable on their home roads. It's great for the local economy, and that's not to be underestimated. Like, it is a massive boost to the local economy, and if we can get something over the line, I think it's brilliant for everyone in the area. And as we were saying at the start of the podcast, that rallying in Ireland is huge, and we don't really need an invitation to get it to come here. It's it's just getting all the stars to align with budget, and hopefully we can get across the line, because it would be amazing for me and the other drivers and co-drivers to be rallying at our home event and within the World Championship. So yeah, fingers crossed. It does keep going forward, because these things aren't so easy, and even with Rally GB, we've seen that's sort of come to a bit of an end, and hopefully they can get something back going as well. But it just shows you that it's not easy, and I think that was sort of taken as a guarantee for a while, that there will always be a Rally GB in Wales, but now we don't have it anymore.
Turn 6 left minus.
We did have the ERC we had that in Ireland, and now it's in Cardigan, and that's a brilliant event as well. And I would encourage people to support it this year, to try and make the effort to get their entries in, because they're brilliant roads, and the competition is very, very high. And it's obviously something that's quite dear to my heart now. I haven't won it last year, but it also makes me want to have more rallies at home that we can go and compete on.
I think we need an event. I think Ireland needs that event, and I think we should be represented in the WRC. How that happens and how we get that over the line, I'm not sure. I haven't checked in a couple of months, but I did hear that Aberdeen were also trying to get a WRC event over the line as well, so fingers crossed for that. But yeah, you obviously came back to the ERC there, possibly a little biased, being a winner of Ceredigion. But that brought to an end an amazing point in your career in the ERC. I first became really aware of you when you came back to the ERC. Was it Rally 4?
Rally 3.
Was it Rally 3 started?
Yeah, in the Orange Fiesta, yeah.
Was that the year that you were the only Rally 3 in our ERC? But you were
more or less, yeah. There was like, let's say, not consistent every event, the competitor that we were against. So there was no real standout championship rival, but there was usually some other Rally 3 on each rally. So we always had someone to compare against. But more or less, we were the only ones, and now there's quite a few in the last couple of seasons. But it was still an amazing opportunity, because it could have been the end of maybe not the end of my rallying career, but it definitely was a lifeline that gave me a chance to drive a full season at international level through MSport Poland, and what they were able to offer me. So that came off the back of driving with them in Junior WRC. I didn't win Junior WRC, unfortunately. I was second twice. And then off the back of that, I think they realised that maybe I wouldn't stick around if I wasn't wasn't able to get some sort of opportunity the following year. So thankfully I was able to promote their Rally 3 car in the ERC. And we were the champion almost by default, but we still had to drive every rally. And actually it was great for gaining experience, but also we were always comparing our times to the Rally 2 cars. And a couple of rallies we had really quick competitors to also compare ourselves against in Rally 3. So it was a brilliant season for sure. And then that springboarded the opportunity to then join MSport with the Rally 2 Fiesta the following season in 2024 and then 2025. So it my career has been a big journey of Fiestas and Fords.
Yeah,
it's been primarily that, and I think the only season I drove something else was 2015. I drove the Peugeot 208 R2, and I'd done one rally in a Mini Cooper WRC, which was a down rally. But yeah, otherwise it's been Fiestas and now a Puma.
Yeah, much like Malcolm Wilson. Well, the reason I actually brought that up was to bring up the point that you were mixing it with the R2s in the R3. It's like, who is this guy? He's so rapid. And the fact that you were the only R3 wasn't really, it didn't matter because you were mixing it with the R2s. It's like, oh my God, this is amazing. Go on, lad. And I don't think there was a single person that wasn't behind you, to be honest. Most people take a good couple of years, maybe, or a couple of seasons to adjust and to get themselves up to that level. But seemingly you've managed to get your opportunity, you've moved up that level, and you've almost instantly been on pace with your fellow competitors. How have you managed to achieve that so quickly?
It's difficult. I think I had a bit of a tough period in 2024 whenever it was my first season in the Rally 2 car, and I was struggling to get onto the front runner's pace, and there was an expectation to be closer to the front from myself, from MSport. And ultimately the season before that, Adrian Formo was proving that the car was very quick in the right hands. So you had that pressure, and I then just had to really figure it out for myself and understand where I can get better speed from. And the cars nowadays are capable of a lot of commitment. So it was just learning really the commitment level that you can take with these modern four-wheel drive cars. And there was definitely a massive step in driving style between the Rally 2 and the Rally 3. But going from Rally 3 to Rally 2, I really had to, let's say, trust everything that the car was going to do more and take the ultimate speed out of it, especially the medium to fast corners. And I think Rally Barham 2024, it was sort of like a slight flick of a switch on the last day. We sort of changed the setup a little bit, and I sort of then understood more about how to drive the car fast. And from there, then we kind of started progressing quite quickly. The next rally in Ceredigion, we had the pace to be on the podium, but we had a puncture. And then the final round in Poland, Rally Silesia 2024, we were second overall, and we probably could have won that rally only for a bit of a mechanical glitch at the start. So that all just starts to build the confidence that you can do it. And I think once you know that you're capable of doing it, then it really does just give you the confidence to keep pushing. And that sort of was true last year in 2025. We just kept pushing. Our pace was improving. Okay, we didn't always have the results that we wanted, but we were definitely getting a lot closer to being consistently at the front, and ultimately missed out winning the championship by quite a close margin. But that was just thanks to having such a good end of the season. Like, we were second, first on the last three rallies. So that was just a massive turnaround. And it's just, there's something about believing in yourself and trusting the capabilities of the car. If you just focus on preparing the best that you can for each rally and believe that that you can do it, and save a bit of resource for the rally in terms of your bandwidth. And I think that's where you can get good results. And this year's been quite good. The first 2 rallies in the top tier of Rally 1, we've had some good stage times on both rallies. And we've at one point in Monte Carlo, we were 3rd overall, which was quite a surprise, but also thanks to the mad conditions that we had.
Yeah.
It was all just chaos. Yeah. So, but no, it's been such a good introduction to the championship, and ultimately it makes you want to keep progressing, and it's not always going to be so easy from one event to the other to keep progressing and have stronger results, because it's a tough championship. There's lots of tough rallies, and you have to be the full package. And even recently we spent 3 days at the workshop just helping to build our car for the next event before the safari, and just learn more about it mechanically, and like replacing certain parts. But yeah, that's what it takes nowadays, is just to be very open-minded and really commit to it.
Do you feel that in the car? Do you feel more comfortable in it?
Yeah, I feel pretty comfortable with it already. Even when I done the first test, which was kind of like a reward for winning Ceredigion last year, I was at Greystoke with a customer of Malcolm's to do some coaching with the Rally 2, but at the same time there was a test happening with the Puma for, I think it was a pre-event test for some rally, and that was sort of also payment for doing the tuition. Malcolm was like, yeah, you can take the Puma first spin at the end of the day, and I immediately just clicked with the car. I'd been driving the Fiesta on the gravel stage that day, so I was sort of warmed up, and then when I jumped into the Puma, it all sort of felt quite natural. So yeah, I think that gave me a lot of confidence. I think Monty is always difficult, especially the mixed conditions with ice and snow and slush and tarmac, and the pre-event test for that was quite hard, to be honest, because I just felt like I was not driving at all fast, but just sort of trying to learn more about the tires and the conditions rather than the car. But then on the rally the pace was quite good, and I was getting more and more used to it. So then went to Sweden. It's more of a consistent flat out event, and that made a lot of sense in terms of driving the car, and really enjoyed it. So I think it fits pretty well. And there's a lot of different types of terrain in events in the WRC, so you have to be able to sort of change your driving style slightly for each one. But ultimately, if you can get on top of the car and make the car feel normal to you, it's good. And even in Sweden, I was like egging the car on in places, which was quite nice. Like your second rally, that you can be like, come on, let's go.
Stop it. Yeah, it certainly seemed that way. I mean, the first 3 events of the season are all very, very different events, with Safari coming up next. But very soon we're going to have quite a nice run of European events, which should be a little bit more consistent in the way that they are. I know they're all quite, they've all got their unique traits as well, but given the start that you've got, I think it sets you up quite well for your first season, which I think everybody agrees is a learning season, but you seem to be learning well.
Yeah, it's true that I think the first 3 are quite demanding and specialist events, but then when we go to Croatia, it's a bit more familiar, but also they're using a new sort of area this year, so different stages. And then the other like events like Portugal, everyone kind of has a good idea of the stages there and the terrain. So I think once we get into those events, they're a bit more normal in quotes. Then you should get into a bit more of a rhythm and feel like you can. I think the pace will feel more tangible in terms of like stage by stage, you can sort of see how you're actually doing. So I'm looking forward to those events, and even the the tarmac events like Japan, Croatia, Canaries. Canaries is quite a tricky one in terms of looking after the tires and not overheating them. But yeah, it's funny because like I'm quite comfortable on tarmac and enjoy tarmac, but I also enjoy gravel and loose surface, and ultimately the championship is primarily like that loose surface, so you've got to be quite good on that, and that's something that the focus is probably on from my side this year, is just getting quicker and quicker on gravel, and yeah, I think we'll eventually get there.
Am I right in thinking you're running still a base setup, or have you already started tuning it to yourself, to your own personal preferences?
So whenever you do the pre-event tests, you start with a base setup, but yeah, we're already like tuning it to be a different direction for me a little bit. Even just like preloads on the diff and spring rates, roll bar settings. So yeah, there's quite a lot of things that you can change on even on a Rally 2 car, and especially on a Rally 1. So I think it's important to try different things, but also you don't want to keep changing the setup, because then you don't find your sort of baseline feeling that you can just crack on and drive the car fast. You don't want to change it all the time, and it's like the floor keeps moving underneath you. You want to kind of keep it where you're only changing maybe a couple of tiles each time, and then you kind of know what you're doing and where you can push. And first to second pass, there's things that you need to change, like ride height, and when you put the ride height up, then you need to know what you need to do with the dampers to compensate, because there's more body roll or the roll bars. So, but that comes through time and experience. And I think now at the moment we need to learn the car more. Me and my engineer, because we're quite new with the car. I've got the same engineer that I had in Rally 2, which is good from personality and friendship point of view, but it also means that we're both still learning the car a bit. So yeah, I'm sure once we get into the meat of the gravel events, and we'll kind of have a good idea what suits me the best and where we want to be.
Moving forwards then, you've mentioned a couple of things in terms of scholarships that you've won, and obviously the support from Motorsport Ireland. Is there anything that you, as an upcoming driver, kind of wished for in terms of support that wasn't there that would have helped?
Yeah, I think I'm quite lucky that I'm able to have the Motorsport Ireland Rally Academy at this point in my career. I'm able to get the support from them, and I guess there's people before me that missed out on that support, so that's why I'm incredibly lucky, who are quite talented as well. Do you think of people like Keith Cronin and drivers like that if they had that support, they could have been incredibly successful in a WRC career as well. So yeah, I feel very lucky to be included, and I guess the only thing would have been for that to come at an earlier stage of my career, but that's how the stars align. And I think now it's brilliant for youngsters from Ireland that they can look at where me and Josh have got to, and also the other drivers in junior WRC and the likes of that's the pathway if they put in the work now. Even at Rally 2 level, there's a couple of, I don't know if they're paid drives, but let's say there's a lot of manufacturer supported drives. So that paints a good picture for the future whenever we're moving more towards Rally 2 regulations, and hopefully there'll be more teams coming in and more opportunity, and then that filters down through the lower ranks, that there's more support to get people there because they see more return in the future. Getting drivers to a work seat and then getting some repay from that is a model that would work well for a lot of people. So hopefully that's the way that when 27 comes, that there's more opportunities through that sort of mindset.
Yeah, I hope so. Certainly on the face of the regs, as we can see them at the moment, it seems promising. But the fact that the old R2s are allowed, the old WRC2s are allowed to compete on equal benefit, just means that we have more opportunities. There may not be official works drives, but, the drivers of Skoda and such can all hopefully compete on an almost level playing field. How close do you reckon that will be?
Difficult to say. I think on paper it should be quite close, but a space frame car is a little bit different than a Rally 2 car, and I think also from what I know that the final regulations and how they sit are still unclear. So in terms of are they going to have identical restrictors for the turbo? I don't think that's 100% clear. Do the manufacturers of the Rally 1 cars want Rally 2 cars to be beating them is another thing. And it's you have to have that question. But if it is very even, then I think it'll be great. And hopefully that's where it ends up falling. And I think if it settles with that, then if you can jump in, a Fiesta Rally 2 or Skoda Rally 2, whatever it may be, and compete with Toyota, whatever car they end up producing, then it's going to be good for people following the sport, good for us as drivers, and hopefully there's more opportunities. But it's still unclear how many manufacturers will have a Rally 1 or 27 spec car from the get-go. At the moment, it looks like Toyota will have one, and then maybe there'll be a couple of other teams that come in with the car. But at the moment, it also looks like Ford and Hyundai won't, if what they're saying publicly is true. But who knows? But that's quite surprising from my side. But it also just shows the way that the regulations are coming in a little bit late.
We need a little bit more definition early on to give the teams as much chance as they can to prepare properly. I think I'm right in saying that's what I've read. MSport have basically said that they just don't have the time to develop a 27 car for 27, hence why I think they were talking about using the Rally 2 car. I believe it was Rich, an interview with Rich, and I think he said it. So we'll see. A lot of people tend to draw comparisons to like the Group A and the WRC era, and I don't think it's so much the class of car. It was more the fact that it was so closely linked to the road cars. You could buy that car. It was certainly more achievable to buy the rally version of that car. And I think that's an important point that shouldn't really get lost. As great as Rally 1 is, you can't buy one, really, realistically speaking. And I think losing that element has been part of the problem. So it would be great to see the next generation of car become available for, let's say, Top Flight British and other domestic series, so that people can enjoy them, both inside and out the car.
Yeah, I think having more privately owned cars is one of the aims of the regulation. And if you can have the works team, but then a satellite team or a customer that's bought a car that can then run at a high level, then it's going to be quite similar to what we have in ERC with the amount of Rally 2 cars that are competing on every rally. Hopefully it'll be a similar level to that. Like it could be 20 cars or if not more. So comparing that to where we are now, it's a big boost. And ultimately the competition, I think, is what drives us as drivers. And if you can highlight the battles and the actual speed that we're going at, okay, they won't be quite as spectacular in a lot of ways, but still a Rally 2 car driven hard is really good to watch. And if we lose a bit of aero and the cars move around a bit more, it could be more exciting. Because even looking back to like the 2016 specification, like Polo Fiesta, they definitely had a lot more chassis movement and sort of sliding around on medium to fast corners. So from my side, they can be sometimes more spectacular to watch, but the outright speed maybe isn't quite as high.
The thing that gets me and that's drawn me back to the ERC is the competition, the amount of cars and crews that are competing and are so close. And it's so exciting to watch. It's just captivating. And then I go back to the WRC and I just feel so... sad's a bit extreme, but I just wish there were more teams, more of the same of what the ERC and WRC2 is currently providing. And I just hope to God that WRC 27 and beyond starts and brings that back. Because I genuinely worry about the sport and about the future, and if it even has a future, when you connect it back to, the global car market as well. It is a genuine concern of mine. That it might not survive. And I hope I'm wrong. I genuinely hope I'm wrong on that. The other side of it, of course, is the promotion side of it. And I kind of touched on it at the beginning. Liberty Media and what they've done with Formula One has been phenomenal. And of course, Drive to Survive. We kind of have our own similar Drive to Survive. I think that's fair to say. Would you agree that More Than Machine is kind of headed in that sort of maybe not quite reality, but it's headed more into that behind the scenes aspect for rallying?
Yeah, it is, and you can draw the comparisons quite quickly with Drive to Survive and More Than Machine. More Than Machine is heavily funded from safety culture, if not 100%. From my understanding, and the current promoter piggybacks a lot off that, and I think there should be more support for that side of things. Okay, we're going through a period now where the current promoter is selling themselves. We don't really know the full story there, but all we can hope for off the back of that is that there is more forward thinking in terms of promotion and getting the reality side of More Than Machine to more people. I think they've been doing a good job so far in terms of getting it to a couple of mainstream TV channels on iPlayers, like I think it's on ITVX, stuff like that. So that's what we need. Okay, All Live is brilliant if you want to watch every stage, but I don't know, apart from being on the rallies and doing it, from a team point of view, that you're watching every stage, but I don't know many people that probably watch every stage, but it's brilliant to have the choice to do that. And then, could you put more, like, one stage from each day for free on YouTube from All Live? Like, imagine the footprint that you would get, like footfall of people just coming across it and getting through it that way. Okay, we have shakedown, but it's over in 2-3 minutes. It doesn't even show each driver for more than a minute, so it doesn't tell the story of the sport. And yeah, it's good that they give that for free on YouTube as a free live stream, but I do believe there needs to be more. And I think there's a couple of live stages from each day that go out on other services, which probably help from that side, like TNT's one, stuff like that. But you just needed to get it in front of people more easily. And social media, I think the current promoter do quite a good job of some of their short format stuff. But yeah, there's a lot that can be done, and maybe that's a budget reason as well. Like, if you double down on the number of people that are creating content, then you're probably going to get more out there. Do you need to do more stuff between the rallies to highlight what people are getting up to, stuff like that? I think, yeah, there's a lengthy discussion that can be had, and it's not easy to know what's going to work, but if you draw comparisons to other series, then you can maybe see what's working for them. I think More Than Machine is brilliant, and hopefully that'll continue going forward, and something that we're involved now, that we're a Rally 1 true. And it can definitely show more of the personality of each driver, and that's the big thing. As a driver, you still want to come across the right way and show some personality. And even last year, I think it was the whole swearing thing with the drivers taking a stance on that. I think that's been a good step forward to bring a bit more personality back out, that we don't feel like we can't be ourselves or say what we think. So yeah, that's been a big thing for us feeling a bit more comfortable. And I think if you can enjoy it, then things do come better. And I think that's a big part of where we can help promote it, is if the drivers are having more fun. So yeah, there's maybe an element to that too.
I'd like to see you guys have fun and just enjoy the ride. And I don't mean that like through the stages. I just mean like the experience of being a rally driver. The classic is Vatanen and Salonen, for instance, about 89, and they were laughing and joking. That's what we love to see. The real people behind the drives. So I'd love to see drivers get that kind of an opportunity. With regards to the swearing, it's a bit of a tricky, prickly subject for a lot of people. I didn't ever believe that you should have punished the drivers for it. I think that was always a broadcast issue. If you don't like it, don't broadcast it. It's quite simple. And in those moments when you come off a stage and let's say you've had a bad one, maybe knocked a corner off, it's not fair to then broadcast those few minutes as you come through the last time controls, where you're letting all that aggression and frustration go, and broadcast it and expect a driver not to swear or not to be upset. I think that was a double standard. And I don't know for certain, but I feel like the broadcaster and the promoter has stopped that now. It feels like something has changed, so that I'm assuming you must come into road mode as you come off the end, through the red boards, and that now has stopped the audio feed, so we can't hear it. And I'm assuming that must have happened in the background somewhere. So it takes that pressure off you, which is great. And it just nullifies the issue. So hopefully that's that sorted. As a package though, I think Rally TV is amazing. They have this amazing product, this amazing wealth of footage. And I've said it before and I'll say it again, I just don't think they're doing enough with it. Yes, All Live is fantastic, and for, 12, 13 quid or whatever it is a month, it's amazing value. But they have a highlights package. They have the features that they've done. They've got all the historical stuff that they've done, which could be put onto YouTube. I mean, this is just my opinion, for what it's worth, but they have the product there that they could sell that they just don't seem to be doing. And I think until we get a new promoter, I don't see that changing, but I would like to see it change. I certainly agree with you on that. One final question, John. How would you, or what sort of ideas do you have in terms of getting the sport to a larger global reach in terms of audience figures?
The more we can get online, the better. Like, the more influencers we can have in terms of, individual influencers in rallying that are covering it as a sport, is really important. And that comes from a culture side again. But I think we've seen that also with Drive to Survive, that there's so many F1 influencers and media creators, content creators, that sort of come out the back of watching that program, becoming a fan of a driver, and then that's where their passion is on the type of content that they're creating. I think a lot of them do tend to be younger girls who are fans of the drivers, but there's no reason why that can't happen for rally as well. And I think from that side, is there a way that we can make it slightly more appealing in terms of the culture for rally, that it's cool, it's glamorous? Can we become anywhere more glamorous than what we are. Do we need to stay gritty and play to that as our strength? There's a lot of questions from that side, but yeah, it's just trying to appeal more to a wider audience. And I think there's ways that you can show what we do day to day is cool. And ultimately that's for other people to try and help with. But we can do what we can too as drivers on social media, trying to show what we're doing. And we have a platform to promote ourselves and the sport. So that's where what we do is quite important as well.
As a Ford fan, I'm hoping that you both do pretty well this year. It's about time that you guys had a bit more luck. So, yeah, go well.
Spot on. Thank you very much.
Not at all. Thank you once again for joining us and giving us your opinions and your thoughts on the future of rally. It's an interesting topic, and it's an interesting direction that we need to go in, I think. So fingers crossed for the future.
Yeah, spot on. Thank you very much. Speak to you soon.
Speak to you soon. Thanks, Jon.